So I've been putting off updating vibe stamps for about 2 months now because I've been busy with my live streams, and honestly, dependency migration just sucks. But Cursor just shipped their new agent window and plan mode, and I figured, all right, let's actually test if these new features can handle a real refactor. The AISDK version 5 is finally out, and Vercel has this new AI Gateway thing, and I want to see if we can just go from this code is outdated to code that's actually deployed in production. This isn't just another tutorial, so you're literally going to be watching me in my workflow. And if something breaks, you'll actually see me debug it live. If plan mode actually prevents the usual AI coding chaos, that's how we'll know as well. And I'm actually going to be using 2 MCPs you probably haven't configured yet. And they might be the secret here, or they actually could be overhyped. So let's find out together. And look, if you're stuck in the AI coding loop where you're getting garbage outputs and don't know what to do next, I have a 5-day intensive where I basically sit down with you as a senior dev and we ship real features together. So link is in the description if you need that kind of hands-on help. But today, you're going to be watching me work through this refactor. Okay, so Vibe Stamps is an app that basically I built for pulling timestamps out of my SRT files for live streams. It works fine, but it's on the old version of the AISDK. And I think version 4 and version 5 just actually dropped with a bunch of changes. And so Vercel also released this new thing called the AI Gateway, where you no longer need a separate API key for every provider. And in theory, you just point at their gateway and use their new unified API key. That sounds good, but I don't really trust the claims until I've actually implemented them. So that's test number 1. And the other thing here is Cursor's agent window. It's supposed to actually change how you work with AI in your editor, and I've been using the regular chat sidebar for months. And it works, but this dedicated agent workflow is actually different, and we'll see if it actually matters or if this is just plain old interface changes. So this is what it does. You upload an SRT file, it generates timestamps. Pretty simple. The backend is Next.js and uses AISDK for the AI stuff. If this refactor breaks it, that's pretty bad. All right, before we touch any code, let me show you what's changed in Cursor's interface, because if you haven't updated yet, it's not obvious what agent window is and why you'd use it. A long time ago, Cursor used to have this thing called Composer. That's actually gone now. And what you have now is this new regular chat sidebar and this new thing called the agent window right here. In the normal chat sidebar, you can just normally work like you used to. You have this little agent dropdown and you can ask any questions of the agent and you can interact like you normally have been before. But with the agent window, it's now a dedicated view that is specifically for working with the agent for longer tasks. And here is the difference that actually matters. In the agent window, everything is actually front and center. And in the conversation, as the code changes, it's all right in front of you. And your terminal output, your file diffs, and any code the agent writes actually shows up here on the side in real time. I know it sounds like a small thing, but it actually changes how you work because you get to actually see what the agent is doing as it's doing it. You're not switching between tabs or losing context. The conversation actually stays visible while you're reviewing your diffs. The reason I prefer working this way is because I can actually catch when the agent starts to go off track and adjust it immediately. Like if I see it's about to refactor the wrong file or use a deprecated pattern, I can actually just stop it right there instead of just letting it finish and cleaning up the mess later. I don't know if everyone will care about this, but for complex refactors, you need to maintain control over what's happening. This layout to me makes the real difference. So that way you're just not refactoring and letting the agent do whatever it wants to do. It's just steering it as it's actually working, which is really cool. With the regular chat sidebar, it's more like you ask a question, you get an answer, and then you go ahead and apply it. And that's fine for the quick stuff. The agent window is for when you're doing something that's going to touch multiple files and you need to kind of stay engaged throughout the entire process. Okay, this is the feature I'm most curious about, plan mode. The problem with AI coding is, and you know this if you've been using these tools for a while, is that you ask it to do something complex and it just starts writing the code immediately. No questions, no clarifications, and it just assumes it knows everything. Because you're absolutely right. Then 10 minutes later, you realize it refactored the wrong files or used a deprecated pattern because it didn't ask you about your setup. Super frustrating. So plan mode here is supposed to force it to stop and think first, in theory. And I'm just going to tell it to convert this current app to use the new AI Gateway from Vercel, along with an update to the AISDK v5. And please use the ref documentation that I actually have as an MCP, along with exa.ai MCP, so that we can use the new Gemini 2.5 Pro model. Let's just see if this actually asks some intelligent questions or if it actually does something pretty wild here. So now it has some questions. Do you want to use the Vercel AI Gateway with the OIDC authentication, the API key, or keep using the Google API key correctly? So these parts actually matter because if the plan is actually wrong, everything downstream actually ends up being wrong. So we're moving from version 4 to version 5 here, which is super important. Gives us an overview about this new provider and the migration here and how we're going to use the new AISDK. And it's going to also update some of these packages, which is really nice. And then it's also going to say migrate the API route to the AI Gateway. So this is really great. And this is the new approach it's going to use, which is actually what's called out in the AISDK v5 docs. And it's going to go ahead and remove all these other things, which is pretty awesome to me. This is the type of agentic coding I like. So I don't know about you, but if this holds up once we're deep in the refactor, it's actually starting to feel more insane than just saying YOLO, migrate everything and just kind of hope for the best, right? All right, there's one more thing that's actually crucial here, and most people don't have this set up yet. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. Basically, they let Cursor access external resources, documentation, search, whatever, while it's writing the code. So without the MCPs, Cursor is just working from whatever it's trained on, which for the AISDK v5 is probably nothing, or very little because it just came out. And I've got two configured. One is ref.tools, and the other one is exa.ai. So ref.tools basically pulls the documentation, and then exa does the semantic search. So when Cursor is writing migration code, it can actually fetch the current AISDK v5 docs instead of just hallucinating based off of v4 or v3 or who knows whatever it's trained on. I'm not going to walk through the configuration here because that's a whole separate thing. So I'll link to the setup guide right here. And if you want to configure these yourself, please go ahead. But just know, without these, you're going to be coding blind on the new releases, and you're probably going to get a lot of mistakes. So real quick, remember how we were going through our plan and I was kind of talking about the MCPs? These are the actual MCPs in action and what it was calling to pull the documentation context. And at each step of the way, what's really nice is the agent was actually referencing that to make its decisions on how to build the software for us. And all of these types of decisions actually helped it make better decisions on how to build a plan better for us. All right, fam, now this is the best part. Plan mode is active, MCPs are configured, the agent window is open, and let's cook. And the first step is going to try to update the package JSON. This is, I'll update the migration plan. I'll start by updating dependencies, and then I'll run and update the migration code. And so what I like about this is that we're actually seeing the agent drive for us in real time, and the changes are being put forth here on the side. So this is really nice. Now we actually can, like part of what Bun is doing is actually resolving these dependencies for us. And we're actually now seeing the changes fly in, which is really great. So the next step is to refactor the API route and use the new AI Gateway as a part of the documentation. So this is actually just following our plan as it's going through. And we're seeing the code that's being removed, which is really great. And now it's actually going to be updating using the new AISDK, AI Gateway, Gemini 2.5 Pro. And so far, it looks pretty good so far. This is really impressive. Actually, I'm more impressed of how fast this is actually moving, which I actually really do appreciate. So if we go to agent changes, this tab will actually show us all the pending changes. And like I was saying, you can hit these little accordion things and actually kind of shows us a different view. So that's super duper helpful. And then if we wanted to see the individual files, you can kind of tab through a specific file or something you wanted to see. In this case, we're looking through all of the agent changes, but if I wanted to see one specific file in line, I could see the code changes myself and review them to make sure they're on track. Wow, I think we're done already, huh? That's crazy fast. The migration's complete. Okay, that is crazy fast. We did the migration all in one shot. If this works, I will be mind blown that like this new plan mode just kind of took care of this whole thing. Bun dev. I'm just super curious now. No way. If this cooked for us, I swear. First try, I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's see if we hit any errors. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Wow, everything literally worked first try. We went from plan mode, we got the MCPs together, those were already configured. We told it exactly what the task we wanted to do. We saw the plan execute. It looked really good just from the first get-go. We told it to build, and in just one shot, it built the whole thing. It did the whole migration, removed the files, moved us over to the Vercel AI Gateway. I don't know about you, but I'm totally like blown away right now. And the fact that we were able to just run this thing first try, it works. shows you how powerful this mode is. I don't know about you, but this thing absolutely cooks. Like the agent window with this dedicated layout is actually kind of a really good feel for me. I feel like I'm in control as a developer, and I can kind of guide the agent along through all these different processes. So being able to see the changes in real time and adjust the agent on the fly, for me, feels like it prevented a lot of mistakes that would have just taken longer to fix after the fact. And plan mode prevented some of the usual chaos by forcing the clarification up front. Along with the MCPs, that actually for me made a real difference. Without them, Cursor would have just been guessing about the AISDK v5 patterns. And I've seen this before in previous versions. That said, I don't know if this workflow actually holds up for bigger projects. This was a relatively focused refactor, and to update dependencies, integrate the gateway, and not break anything, we pretty much did that in one shot, which is crazy. I'm just curious what happens when you're actually starting to build something new from scratch, or maybe with working with multiple agents in parallel, which actually leads me to what I'm covering next. In the next video, I'm going to show you how I manage multiple agents using a documentation workflow that I've been developing to keep everything on track for larger projects. Because this single agent approach that we just did, it works for today, but it doesn't really scale in a way that we need it for more complex builds. Now look, if you watch this and you're thinking, I need some help to actually ship with AI instead of just watching tutorials, that's exactly what my 5-day intensive is for. And I basically become your senior dev for 5 consecutive days, and we work on your actual project. And by day 5, you're shipping real features. It's not cheap, it's $13.37, but if you're stuck in a loop of getting garbage outputs and not knowing what to do next, it actually might be worth it. The details are in the description. And if you want the MCP setup guide, it's also linked below. VibeStance is open source, and if you want to look at the refactor code, and if you have questions or if you try these features that had different results, drop a comment. I'm genuinely curious to see what you're actually building with this workflow. All right, that's it. Go ship something.